Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Business World Insights, a special series on smart cities and mobility, building more sustainable cities and transportation. My name is RJ Balinbin, and I'll be your host and moderator for today's discussion on on how our cities can be transformed and upgraded into better, more inclusive, and more sustainable places for their residents and workers, as well as the enterprises and institutions they house. According to recent projections, about 60% of the world's population will be living in cities by 2030. In fact, more than half already do. Cities and metropolitan areas are the chief drivers of growth in developing economies, but they also give rise to a host of other social issues, namely a growing number of slum dwellers, inadequate and overburdened infrastructure and services, such as waste collection and water, sanitation systems, roads, and transport, worsening air pollution, among others. Should the future growth of developing countries like the Philippines continue, certain care and attention must be paid to such issues. So, building smarter, more sustainable cities could be key. But what are smart cities? These are planned metropolitan areas in which emerging technology is used to augment urban planning and governance, transport, energy, and environment, health, and education. So, transport, for instance, plays a significant role, with the United Nations recognizing that sustainable transportation can enhance economic growth and improve the accessibility, social equity, health resilience of cities, urban rural linkages, and productivity of rural areas. So, today, we are joined by some of the most sought after experts. We'll be hearing from each speaker in turn before diving into a free flowing panel conversation. So before we call them on screen, just a reminder to our audience that we'll be taking audience questions later during the Q&A, so be sure to send them in the comments section, which our team will be monitoring. Now it's time for us to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker has been the president of SM Supermalls since 2020, overseeing mall developments in both the Philippines and China. He is Mr. Stephen T. Tan. He joined SM in 2004, handling mall operations for the Podium. In 2006, he led the launch and operations of the SM Supermalls Crown Jewel as a Mall of Asia. His oversight was extended to the Premier Malls division composed of SM Mall of Asia, SM Mega Mall, SM City North EDSA, and SM's China Mall properties. Later on, he headed the opening of the SM Aura Premier in Bonifacio Global City, the launch of the Mega Fashion Hall, and the expansion of the Podium. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Mr. Stephen T. Tan. Stephen, you have the screen. Good morning.
Good morning, RJ. Good morning to our distinguished guests and fellow panelists.
Yeah, you can have your opening statement.
Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so good morning to everyone. Good morning, RJ. I'm Stephen Tan, president of SM Supermalls, and I'm here today to present how we put sustainability at the core of our operations. At SM Supermalls, we believe that sustainable property development is the key. We make every effort to future proof our country through the practice of disaster resilience that addresses the increasing demand for urban areas and the threat of climate change. And at the core of all our services, our shoppers and the community around our malls remain to be our top priority. We bring them comfort, convenience, safety, and most of all, an enjoyable day's experience. So, how so? SM has become a comfortable space where everyone can have a good time while shopping and dining, accessing public and government services such as vaccines, licenses, passports, permits, and IDs, education and learning. We are also a leisure and entertainment venue. Shoppers can save money, time, and energy as we consolidate everything they need under one roof. Truly, as they say, everything's at SM. We've got it all for you. SM Supermalls has also become a conduit where both online and on-ground shopping thrives. Everything at SM is not just shoppable, but also shippable. As technology and innovation have become one in our operations, we're able to cater to the needs of our shoppers wherever they are. And as we evolve, our commitment to giving back to the planet was cemented and made our central thrust towards the future through the SM Green movement. This serves as the strong foundation of responsible development where we address the increasing demands of urban areas and address the threats of climate change. We've institutionalized bike lanes and parking in SM malls. Green products and services have all been made available for our customers at SM Store. We've also implemented green practices in our operations, including a newly established SM Sustainability School for those who want to kickstart their sustainability journey with us. We've launched multiple free e-vehicle charging stations nationwide, a first of its kind in the Philippines. Filipinos with electric vehicles can now travel from north to south and back again without worrying about where they can charge their vehicle because there's an SM mall with an EV charger anywhere. This advances further our zero emissions agenda, increasing the use of renewable energy to 50% by end of 2022 across all our business segments ahead of the national goal to be 35% renewable by 2030. And to further provide a safe, comfortable, and sustainable alternative to commuting, we started rolling out the SM electric bus services last December, which enabled commuters to travel from SM Fairview to Mega Mall and back. We will be rolling out more destinations in the coming months so that our shoppers can access a sustainable mode of transportation. Our commitment to building smarter, sustainable cities and transportation has become stronger than ever. I believe that by initiating sustainability programs that will improve the way we live, we can add value to the lives of every single Filipino mall goers and increase our chances of achieving a sustainable nation. However, this is not just SM Supermall's battle alone, it is ours. And this forum will enable us to actively discuss the best practices that the private sector has in effectively and efficiently building smart and sustainable cities. Thank you and looking forward to insights we can learn from today's forum.
Thank you, Stephen, especially for sharing with us what you're doing at SM. It's great to hear about the bike initiatives and so on. So, our second speaker is Erica File T. Legara, PhD. She holds an Aboitiz chair in data science and a professorship in data science at the Asian Institute of Management, or AIM. Dr. Legara obtained her PhD in physics from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. In 2001, she finished the leading Smart Policy Design program at Harvard Kennedy School of Government Executive Education. Before joining AIM, Dr. Legara was a scientist at the innovation think tank Agency for Science, Technology and Research in Singapore, where she worked on various R&D projects with multiple stakeholders. She was also heavily involved in Singapore's Urban Systems Initiative, or USI, as one of the senior scientists under USI's Complex Systems Program. Dr. Ligara specializes in data-driven analytics and modeling, urban complexity, computational social science, network science, and agent-based modeling. Her current research is geared towards understanding complex systems through the data science lens and determining the mechanisms that drive and control them, from cities and societies to financial and economic systems to business institutions. Please welcome Dr. Erica Legara. Doc Erica, good morning.
Good morning, RJ. Thank you so much. Thank you to Business World for having me today. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be in the company as well of my co-panelists. I enjoyed listening to Stephen, and of course, looking forward to what I can learn from Architect June. Okay, so the study of cities and human mobility in particular is something that's close to my heart. No, at one point, as mentioned in the intro, I was an urban scientist, although I'm a trained physicist with the Singapore government, building models and simulations of their transportation systems. It was one of the fields that we specialized in. Currently, I'm with AIM, specifically with the Analytics, Computing, and Complex Systems Laboratory. And we also have an ongoing smart city project with Baguio City. And I think last year or 2 years ago, we completed another project with Kawayan City in Isabela. For this forum, there are three things, 3 points that I want to highlight. And the first is that cities are complex systems, and to properly understand them requires a complex systems perspective. That is, we recognize that the whole is not only more than the sum of its individual parts, but that it is vastly different from the sum of its individual components. We cannot, for example, fully understand and manage megapolises like Metro Manila by isolating the individual cities that comprise it. For example, just looking at Makati City or just looking at Quezon City or Pasig, we have to look at it as a whole. Everything is linked, everything is interconnected and interdependent. So, to develop sound policies, for example, for improving the well being and the quality of life of commuters and citizens, we must start thinking in systems and consider this interconnectedness that I mentioned of the different components and also factors. The second point is natural tendencies. Individuals, that is people like me, like you know, and even cities, we all follow what we call our quote unquote natural tendencies. I mean, sure, we can be engineered, but the engineering and management must be well thought out, considering these tendencies, considering human behavior. Why, for example, do people want to move to cities, right? I think RJ mentioned that more than half of the people around the world are now in cities because people want to be where the action is, where the economic activities are, where the opportunities are, and where there is a dynamic and active lifestyle. This reminds me of China, for example, and what they call the ghost cities or the ghost towns. You may think that they were once active cities that were eventually abandoned. No, they're actually brand new engineered cities. But why didn't people, for example, move there? So that's another thought. And the third and final point is we cannot improve or manage what we do not measure. And this is where data and technology can come in and can help. The issues mentioned in the brief by RJ just now, I mean, these problems that urban systems face can only be properly managed with the right data and the right methodologies to work the problems out. Insight driven policies must be the name of the game instead of just using our gut feel, no, to make decisions for our cities, for our citizens. And maybe perhaps last point, so that's four in total, that we, especially our policymakers, must learn how to ask the right question. In transport system, for example, is the question really how can we reduce traffic so more cars can get to their destination on time? Or should it be how can we move people to get them to where they want to go without sacrificing their well being? Thank you so much, RJ. I think I want to end here for now. Maraming
Yeah,
salamat.
thank you. Salamat, Doc Erica. Now let's have architect and urban planner Felino June Palafox Jr. He has 50 years of experience in architecture and 48 years in planning. He founded and still leads and manages Palafox Associates and Palafox Architecture Group Incorporated, which have already completed more than 1,800 projects in 40 countries. He led Palafox Associates to be the first Filipino architectural firm cited in the world's top 500 architectural firms of the World Architecture magazine. In 2006, the firm held the distinction of being the only Southeast Asian firm in the top 100. Architect Palafox has lectured in more than 20 countries. He has traveled to and observed more than 1,000 cities in 72 countries and 7 territories. Thank you for joining us today, Architect Felino A. Palafox. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you, RJ, for your kind introduction, and glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's so timely, as I mentioned a while ago in our conversation, that Asian Development Bank hired me to help prepare the Philippine Development Plan for 2023 to 2028. And the assignment I had is from ADB is connectivity, which Professor Lagares emphasized connectivity, transportation, and infrastructure. The infrastructure includes digital, physical, and digital. And not many of us are aware that there are 32 modes of transportation, and there are more than 18 kinds of infrastructure. And I worked closely preparing that plan with NEDA, Department of Transportation, Department of Public Works, and DICT for the digital. And I've been comparing because I've been part of development planning elsewhere in the world, especially in Dubai. And in Dubai, I was named hired in 1977 by the rules of Dubai to help plan Dubai and design the desert of Dubai, bring it in the first world in 15 years. They were able to achieve it. So there were visions and goals with timelines. And what they do in Dubai is identify the best in the world, the best practices in the world, the best projects in the world, and how many years they would surpass it. My experience in development planning in our country is just better than last year, better than previous years. So it's like baby steps. So I've been saying that maybe we should do something like Dubai, Singapore, Doha, and many rapidly developing countries. And my background on Metro Manila is that in 1974-75, I was appointed in a United Nations Development Program funded Manila Bay Region Strategic Plan. In the 1975-76, the World Bank funded Metro Manila Transportation, Land Use and Development Planning projects, of which I was senior planner and team leader. It was the best metro plan in the world. That's probably why I got discovered by the rulers of Dubai, and I just finished that contract and moved to Dubai. And then in 2003, my one of the term papers I submitted in the Harvard Graduate School of Design is Manila Bay Region, Pacific Coast Megalopolis, a mega region. And today, because we've been also involved in many plans and including airports, we're currently working on both Clark and the New Manila International Airport in Bulacan with San Miguel. And the rehabilitation of NAIA, we made so many recommendations in 2004 and projection for the next 15 years from 2004 while waiting for Clark to mature, to be developed. Nothing happened. And in Metroplan Manila, we should have completed, I think, 8 lines in 15 years from 1977. And today, how many lines do we have? And 8 lines should have been completed in 1992. So everything we're doing, infrastructure is a catch-up situation, not future. And by 2050, um, will be 150 million Filipinos. And I've been pushing to plan and develop 100 new cities by 2050. Otherwise, the existing cities would be as worse, as bad, if not worse, than Metro Manila today. And there's so many lessons learned. In the 70s, Metro Manila was a model, a reference for good metropolitan planning. Today, many scholars from Harvard, Yale, uh, um, European universities, they come to our office and interview me, Metro Manila, what went wrong. Case studies like EDSA, how not to do it. EDSA is about, I think, 13 transit stations. Elsewhere in the world, 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk should be higher density developments. And EDSA corridor needs 8 parallel roads. And where are these parallel roads? They are inside gated military camps and gated communities. And urban planners, we call it, example of Makati or Metro Manila, is brutal because you have within the city very tall buildings, and the central business district of Makati is surrounded by gated communities, and there's no housing for human capital. The employees of Makati, on the average, spend about 5 to 6 hours commuting because the employees of Makati are priced out of the housing stock. And planning is balanced. There's so much imbalance in our country, urban, regional, and national development, and the primacy of Metro Manila. A primate city is more than 10 times the second largest city. And fortunately, because I got grounded with this pandemic, I see the great potential of our country, and we've won projects like Metro Ilocos, Lawag, Batak, Pagudbut, Metro Vigan, Pampanga Megalopolis, Pampanga, we had proposed it will have 4 metropolitan areas. Poro Point airports and surrounding areas, the Cordilleras, the whole region, and Corregidor, Batangas City, uh, uh, and the going south, Metro Davao Urban Master Plan, 8 LGUs. Metro Davao is 10 times the size of Metro Manila, 9 times Singapore, and and 6 times Hong Kong. So it's not really too much population. It's more of population distribution and distributing opportunities also. And I I've come to realize our country has so many blessings, very high development potential, and and Metro Manila really we have to strike balance like housing for the human capital. They have been left off. And we should have more transit-oriented developments, mixed-use development, like when we designed Rockwell, place to live, workshop and dine, learn and worship, and so on. And the mega malls, the word malling came from SM mega malls. And why are they successful? Because we don't have public parks, democratic space for all income classes. They go to the malls, and I think it's been reported already to the Pope by the papal nuncio. We had conversations with him last Sunday, and it only in the Philippines you have places for worship in malls. Nowhere else in the world they have places to worship in malls. So so many things to be done, and we are not lack of planning, it's just lack of implementation. And I've been sharing even with our leaders that the success of Dubai, when I work with the uh, ruler, the founder of modern Dubai, the they have the rest of Dubai, they have visionary leadership, strong political will, good appreciation of urban planning, good appreciation of good design like architecture, engineering, and very competent. They always keep on improving. Immediate action program, short term, medium term, long term, and visionary. In our country, it's mostly short term and opportunistic. There seems to be lacking long term and visionary. Like when you put up infrastructure, like skyways, subways, and railways, it should be at least 50 years planning. Even the way franchises are given, like skyways, only 30 years. But it's not 6 years. Maybe the political system also. The mayors, first year they learn the job. Second years they do their job. Third year they start campaigning again. So mayors effectively work once a year. And many of the urban planning decisions, I've talked to planners of LGUs. Many of them are political decisions, like conversions of open spaces. And an open space, the traffic generation is pedestrian. You put a high-rise tall structure, maybe the traffic generation will be 2,000 cars. And decision makers do not see the impact. And and also mixed use develop. We're designing these new cities. We're doing 8 of them right now, private sector led, and 15-minute cities. Everything should be walkable within 15 minutes, bikeable within 15 minutes, and accessible by public transit within 15 minutes. I'm glad that SM is doing point-to-point public transit. I think somebody's like initiative from the airports maybe to the malls. Because at the airport, kung wala kang sundo, even Grab and taxis are not available. Yung walang sundo. Kaya I heard some of them, they already Lala move to fetch them from the airport, and they would be asked, "What's the package?" I am the package, and it's ridiculous. We should have seamless connectivity, cities that are really inclusive. And I wrote in my term paper in UP 1973 that development is not worthy of a name unless spread evenly like butter on a piece of bread. Today we call that inclusive zoning, inclusionary zoning, inclusive growth. And that's the way to go. It should just be lip service. We cannot address the problems of Metro Manila unless we distribute uh, more cities outside Metro Manila. And urban regional planning, urban regional rural planning, and provincial and national planning. And the Philippines has so many advantages. And if you rotate the map of the world, the Philippines is right in the center. It's no wonder we were the Asia Pacific hub of Spanish Europe for more than 300 years, 50 years the Americans, 4 years the Japanese, 2 years the British. So it's already a given. All superpower countries will be interested in our islands. And I see now the many blessings we have in the country. And like we're 400 times the size of Singapore. So we should have benchmark at Singapore. We should have 400 international airports. When the Americans were here before the war, we had more than 200 runways and airports. And then 350 times the size of Hong Kong, 8 times the size of Taiwan, 3 times the size of Singapore. Dubai, which is less than 4 million population, their current Dubai airport is one of the busiest in the world. They are building the largest airport in the world. By 2050, combined capacity London Heathrow and Chicago O'Hare, 220 to 150 million uh, 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 capacity passengers. And I've been saying Manila Bay region, Central Luzon, Metro Manila, and Calabarzon, which projected 60 million population by 2050, needs 6 airports. So there are criticisms that we have too many airports. We need more airports. And if I categorize the 32 transportation modes and 18 consumer infrastructure into 6 categories, we need progressive infrastructure. Progressive infrastructure are the international airports, international seaports, international hospitals, hotels, what have you. Then we have uh, progressive, uh, hard. We know that roads and utilities, soft infrastructure, the ease of doing business, no corruption, no red tape, Internet of Things, green infrastructure, and institutional infrastructure. Without those good institutions, we'll never realize our plans. Thank you very much. I exceeded my 5 minutes. Apologies for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Palafox. Now, let's have our panelists back on screen for the discussion. So, yeah, let's have all of them on screen, back on screen. All right. So, hello again, everyone. I'd like to keep this segment of our session today free flowing. So, please feel free to jump in at any point. Now, my first question for all of you is that about Metro Manila as a city, because that's where we are in right now. So, what are your thoughts on Metro Manila or Manila as a city? How will you go about improving it to become a smarter, more sustainable city for the future? Doc Legara, I think you would like to speak first.
That's a tough.
Yeah,
It's actually a very tough question, just taking into
yeah.
consideration what Architect Palafox just shared with us. No, but I wanted to focus, RJ, if you'll allow me, more on the smarter.
Mhm.
I think the goal should not just to make cities smarter, and then that should not be the goal, no, but to make cities more livable, to make the amenities more accessible, with a particular focus on well-being and quality of life. No? And then perhaps maybe to get there, we need to have smarter cities, meaning we use data and technology. But that in itself should not be the end in mind. So I'm just actually, to answer the question, I'm just going to circle back to some of the points we have made, including Stevens and also architect June. No? First, we need to learn how to look at data. We really have to understand what's going on before we can even fix things, and then craft policies from there. I like how Steven and SM Supermalls actually put it. No? I was writing down notes. The indicators were very critical. Comfort, convenience, safety. Ito yung goal natin. And for the people to save money, time, and energy. And I also like the takeaways from architect Palafox. So I agree. These plans and implementation must be all inclusive. With Metro Manila, the inequality is really terrible, and this is something that we also need to address. And the government must start to think this way too. I hope they're listening to Business World right now. And maybe on the implementation side, we need the right tools, the right technology, and approaches as well, not just the tools and tech, because this will allow us to address both the now and also the future when you talk about sustainability. And maybe finally, because I'm an educator, no, jumping off from the sharing of architect Paula Fox on the policies and politics, we need to also educate our policymakers, no, our mayors and government, our governors on the science of cities. I'll stop here, RJ. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Sir Stephen. Yeah.
Talking about future, a city of the future, no? Actually, it starts with the grassroots talaga, the grassroots, and also the children, no? They really are our future. So that's why in our malls we always have these educational tours for elementary students, for whether it's public school or private schools. It should really be, I agree, it should all be inclusive, no? Like we all know that we have solar panels in our malls. I think almost half of our malls across the country are using solar panels, no? So that's why if you coordinate with schools and educators, and show the kids or the children, what the malls are doing or what are the private sector doing in contributing to the to our environment, no? That's already psyching the children up, no? Educating them what they should be doing in the future or in their own small ways, no? Because it can be, you can have very big projects and all, but if it's not going to benefit everyone, or if you're not gonna do a lot of things with the with who's using them actually, no, it's no use. Working together with the government is really key. It's very important. I'll give an example. I just came back from Iloilo. I was there for Dinagyang, no, and I was so surprised because they have the cleanest river in the country. I would say that, no, within a city. Inside the city, there's a river, and it used to be. I remember visiting Iloilo 20 years ago. It was not very. There's a lot of informal settlers, but this time during the Dinagyang, all the informal settlers were gone. No, and it's clean, doesn't smell. It's so nice. It's beautiful. But when we started talking to Mayor Jerry Trenes, suddenly he was proud that says, "Oh, we partner with a lot of private sectors, no, just like you, like us, no, SM. We build low cost housing or socialized housing. I think there's several building of socialized housing, and we address the informal issues on informal settlers by relocating them, because we all know that the informal settlers are the number one polluters in our riverways, so in our waterways. So those are the things that I think we can both work together to address the issues of the impact on our environment. No? Another is
Mhm.
building townships. We have been building townships. It's just that this term has been coined maybe recently, like 10, 20 years ago. But even way before, Mall of Asia is a place, it's a 66 hectare property But that was the vision even in the early 90s or late 80s. Now, when we were reclaiming this, Mr. Henry C. Sr. says, oh, I want to put up a mall, but I want to have residential, I want to have office, I want to have parks, so that people don't have to leave the whole complex, and not adding to the congestion in our LRT, MRTs, and what have you. No? So live, work, and play all in one area. But that was the vision during the 80s. But of course, the name township was only coined like maybe 15, 20 years ago, right? But there was already that vision. So I think we should really think about what the present, but also the future, no, of what we will do to help this country.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Now, architect Palafox.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Amen to what Professor Legar mentioned and also to Stephen Tan. And he mentioned two projects that I was involved. Iloilo, Urban Master
Yeah.
Plan,
Mhm.
2009. Walkable, bikeable, river walk, and all of that. And also because of SM Iloilo, we were the architects of that. And SM has a corporate responsibility. There were not enough drainage. I think the river is about 2 kilometers away. And on 1 kilometer, SM built off-site improvement up to drain it properly up to the river. That's one. Then Mall of Asia, Mr. Henry Senior, I work with him also on the conceptual master plan of Mall of Asia and also the Metrobank area. And again, we try to do 15-minute city or 5-minute neighborhood, place to live, workshop, and dine, and so on. And Professor Legar, it's really you cannot manage something you cannot measure. So data analytics and we do also uh, powerful narratives and visually powerful images. And it's really, I think we should re-educate decision makers because they are doing urban planning decisions. And some claim to be smart cities. A smart city is not just a technology. Smart technology is to have smart government, ease of doing business, transparency, no red tape, no corruption, and availability of open data. With that definition, do we really have smart cities? A smart economy fosters entrepreneurship, innovation, interconnectivity, where small to large businesses can prosper. Smart living, security, health, vitality. Smart people, world-class education, made accessible to everyone, inclusive. Smart mobility encourages faster, environment-friendly, more affordable, convenient, safe, and many of and on time. And then smart environment deals with urban plans in innovative ways that protect the environment and the city's natural resources. I had a conversation in an open forum with Richard Daley of Chicago. I told him, and smart cities and green cities, what's your style of governance? You know what he told us? The government should be the exemplar, not the exempted. So all public buildings of Chicago, they have solar roof, rainwater harvesting, and all the green features. So the government buildings must be the example, not the exemplars. In our part of the world, you look at government buildings, but they require public sector to be greener, more sustainable, more resilient, and so on. And cities universally in the world is 80% is private sector, only 20% government. So government should be more an enabler rather than an obstruction. Sometimes just getting permits, like for energy, takes 2 years to get permits. And I hope the anti-red tape will do something about it. And if you have open data, transparency, and so on, it will help. Metro Manila, I spoke about the imbalance. Like Makati, maybe Professor uh, Erica can confirm this. The daytime population of Makati CBD is 11 times the nighttime population. So bring in the
Yeah.
11 times population in the morning, then out in the evening, because no socialized housing, no housing for the human capital. And many things we could do. Green urbanism. I'm a fellow of the Council for Tall Buildings, Urban Habitat. We're the ones promoting vertical cities and tall buildings, certifying the tallest buildings in the world. And I'll be a speaker in Singapore in November. And they asked me to speak about Metro Manila's vertical urbanism and urban sprawl. We have urban sprawl. We have gated communities in Makati, 4 dwelling units per hectare. We have designed buildings in Makati, 200 to 1,000 dwelling units per hectare, which is more sustainable. The 4 dwelling units per hectare or the 1,000 dwellings per hectare that SMDC is building. And this is where many employees live. And in fact, in the American Planning Association, we learned that large single-family homes, the middle of the cities, have larger carbon footprint because they arrogate to themselves prime urban land resources, limited urban land resources, preventing more families to live closer to their places of work, and encouraging more urban sprawl to encroach into the forests and to the farms. So we should re-educate decision makers
Mhm.
both from the public and private sector. And I'm also guilty because I used to live in two gated communities. I planned some of them, and and maybe they don't know. Those living in fact, American Planning Association, they ask us to shame. They call them monster homes. I used to live in a monster home also, like more than 600 square meters in one house. And during pandemic, I learned that many of the homes of the urban poor, 5 household members in 9 square meters. How could they distance 2 meters? And lack of open spaces. Open spaces are being sold, reclassified into buildable, sellable, and open spaces are the lungs of the city. That's why I said Metro Manila, compared to the human being, is needs a lung transfer because of lack of open spaces, a heart bypass because roads are congested, and a heart transplant because major activity centers like CBTs are all constrained and so on. And we also did do what we do: urbanism, mixed use development, vertical urbanism, urban acupuncture. We cannot do it all
Mhm.
at once. Maybe street by street, block by block, and political will. Metro Manila's urban development, you need 19 political wills, 17 LGUs, MMDA, and national government. National government, oh, it's more than 20. Transportation, public works, social services for the social infrastructure like schools and so on. So, it's easier to plan Davao. Urban Master Plan of Davao, parang isang political party. Also, Ilocos Norte, parang isang political party. But in Metro Manila, it's very challenging. Thank you.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, so I think all of you agree that there's a need to educate our policymakers. So, other than that, what do you think is the biggest hurdle to developing livable or smarter cities? Is it the absence of a national master plan? Do we have that? Or is it the funding? Is it on the part of execution? And yeah, maybe you can share more. Yeah, sir.
It's all of the above.
Yeah.
And and I had a short conversation with the president, and I said, "Sir, we continue the build, and he said, build more." Then I thought, BBM, build more. And he reminded me of the plans I participated in the mid 70s. I work in government because I had to pay for my scholarships at UP. So I was required to at
Mhm.
least 2 years. And fortunately, I was assigned in World Bank funded project, UNDP funded project. I was also part of the National Physical Framework Plan for the whole Philippines. And we already identified emerging cities that time. But after we got the democratic space of 1986, we forgot all the plans: water, energy, transportation, etc. So this is the build, or the build more is a cuts up situation, and what we needed the past 30 years. And I've been writing articles on, I'm continuing articles on the Vision 2050 towards a plan, the Philippines. And we from the private sector, maybe even in this conversation, maybe we can work together on Dateline
Mhm.
2050. the Philippines will be a first world country in the top 20 economies of the world. And I think we should have maybe both uh, multi-sectoral, the thought leaders in different sectors. Business world may want to initiate this conversation and document them and put them on record so that future generations will not blame our generation for not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Doc Erica.
No, I think Architect June has actually summarized everything I covered, really comprehensive. It's really everything no, that you mentioned. Usually, I would be asked, kasi, di ba, we worked in Singapore, we made sure that their transportation system was really working to get people from one point to another. And then they ask, why aren't you doing it in Metro Manila? Because the political will, honestly, I just learned. Thank you for the number, Architect Juno, on the 19, at least 19 political
More
wills
than
that
20.
more than 20 needed. And that's also why, RJ, we started with working with Isabela, Kawayan City, and Baguio muna, no? Instead of dealing with this organism that is Metro Manila. Because even if you have the right data, even have if you have the science and technology, all of these approaches, even if you have the plans, if there's no political will to implement these plans, that would be a big problem. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I've
my take
heard
on
of
that.
that. I've heard of the Baguio project, but the Kawayan Isabela, are these part of the NEDA project, which is what they call the digital cities something? Can you confirm?
Eventually they will be roped in, no? Of course, when we started it, it was as an individual project with the DOST, and Mayor Bernard D at that time was like one of the most innovative mayors I've met. But definitely, RJ, no, all of these will be put together because, like what I said, this is a complex system. Everything is interacting. We have to make sure that the interactions are well accounted for.
So, okay, so what are your expectations for Baguio City, where your project is?
Expectations. Mayor Magalam's really been very receptive. Yun yung importante. You do the studies. What we've done, we have deployed, thanks to our data scientists and data engineers at AIM, we have deployed sensors. Because one important thing when you want to study, right, is to collect information. Unlike in Singapore, we have uh, smart systems in most, if not all cities, no, in the Philippines, wala pa. So we deployed sensors so that we can start collecting data, we can make analysis and build models and simulations, ultimately with the goal of exploring what if scenarios. Like what will happen if I build a regional center here or there? What will happen if tourism rises up to a certain threshold, for example? We want to be able to foresee this with what, like Stephen mentioned earlier, future proofing Baguio City. So far, so good. It's like what I said, it's ongoing. Would love to update you once the project concludes.
Great, great. Sounds exciting. So, Sir Stephen, going back to my question, you've been dealing with the government, I think, and
Yes.
yes, you mentioned there's a need to educate our children as well, and as
Yeah.
well as the policymakers. So, what other constraints do you see that we need to address immediately?
Yeah, big corporations or big institutions like us, no, I think we have that responsibility actually to act on these pressing issues, no, and we work very very closely with the whether it's the local government and or the national government, no. I'll give an example. It's the best. It's the EDSA busway carousel. We know that there's a dedicated bus lanes along EDSA, but presently sometimes they have to go across and take the bus, which is not very convenient, and it's not also very safe, no. We are building the EDSA busway carousel, meaning the bus stop, no, so that people when they get off the MRT they could just go directly and below it, or underneath it, to take the bus along that flies along EDSA, no. That makes it easier, faster, and more convenient for the people. That then there would be in Mall of Asia, Mega Mall, and North EDSA. No? So you would have a comfortable bus carousel or waiting area for your after you get off the MRT. No, that's just one. But we also partner, like for example, our chairperson, Mr. Hans C. He also co-chaired the National Resilience Council, or the ARISE, in ARISE Philippines, and represents the country, to have some talks in Geneva, or what is really the role of the private sector in all this. We cannot just ignore or just say that, oh, it's the government's problem. I think it's everyone's problem. It's everyone's concern. We just have to really work hand in hand.
All right. Thank you, Sir Stephen. So, everyone, what are your thoughts on the previous Duterte administration's efforts towards decentralization? What do you think of emerging cities around? Like, we have Clark, we have Cebu, we have Davao, and even, yeah, those cities that are away from Metro Manila. Yes, sir.
Perhaps
Architect
architect.
Pop.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ladies first.
No, I think you're in
Yes,
a
Doc.
better position to answer that question,
Anyway,
architect
again,
Jude.
it shows my age already. I've worked on this proposal since I was 23 years old, 1973. The National Physical Regional Development Plan, and to decongest Metro Manila. And the Duterte administration, I had conversations with them, and they were uh, implementing them, encouraging them. We have 1,600 mayors. 10% of them are very good. The 90%, they can be better. So we should have all of them. And so many things. Some mayors and runs, they would come to me and said, I like my city like Makati. So I tell them, Makati was well planned. I used to be chief architect of Ayala, by the way. But after the 1990s, they increased the density by 4 times, but the access capacity did not increase by 4 times. Very narrow sidewalks and so on. So I've been telling them some planning the cities should be from ridge to reef, from the mountains, highlands, midlands, lowlands, the coastline, and the water. And I've been promoting several concepts like Aerotropolis, airport-driven city, the Center for Business, Logistics, Technology, and Innovation. Agropolis, the farm and the city. Farm in the city, urban farming, center for food production, agri-industrial businesses, and research and development, also known as urban agriculture. The um, average uh, uh, travel of food to the table from the farms, 2,000 miles. So we've done projects in India and Vietnam, agropolitan approach to development. Every house had a kitchen garden. And we are doing some projects also here. Sometimes they call them leisure farms. Aquapolis, like Candabasons in Pampanga, can be it can be used for tourism and urban development, water oriented. And our waterfronts, we have the third longest coastline in the world. We don't know how to treat our waterfronts. We treat them as back of the house basurahan. The top In the top 10 worst polluting rivers in the world, seven are in the Philippines. Number one is Pasig River. Number four, Sturiahan River. Thanks to San Miguel, they're cleaning it up, dredging it. Ecopolis, ecology, environment, and the city, environmental tourism, education, natural heritage. So I think we Filipinos, we have the solutions. OA lang tayo. Yeah, thank you.
Mm. All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Doc Erica.
Yeah, on the decentralization, everything that again, architect Jude said, but I just want to add, again, I'm gonna go back on natural tendencies because I'm always reminded of ghost cities. You said China, nga, you force people, you build subdivisions outside of a metropolis, and then you expect people to go there, but that's not the case. So, if you're going to decentralize, it's important that you make sure that the dynamics and the active lifestyle, the opportunities will also be there. So usually that's they would build housing outside, and then after some for the
Yeah.
informal settlers, but then after some time they would leave these houses. Why? Because there's
Yeah.
no access to opportunities. This is something that we also have to think about when we build when we decentralize our metropolises. No, not just give them houses, but make sure that the economic activities is there, that the dynamism is there, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yeah. That has
Okay.
been the problem ever since, right? Relocating people, and then we don't provide livelihood opportunities in the area, and then they go back to the city,
Okay.
right? And Sir
You know,
Stephen.
yeah, if I may, we've been working hand in hand with the government, whether it's local or national. So whether it's past or present, it's really part of our what we do. No, but speaking of decentralization, uh, a long time ago, you just build a mall and they will go, right? But nowadays,
Yeah.
we have what we have been doing as a property developer is when we put up a mall, we also think of the other things that would enrich the people's lives, no, or uplift the people's lives. Like we have projects with Iloilo Mayor, no, to clean up their public market. We all know that our public market does not have a drainage system, that does not have a sewage treatment plant. The Bagsakan is not properly organized. So we're here to really address those problems as well, no? Because it is our community, it is our city that we are doing business, and it's just right for big businesses like ours, no, to also help other concerns of the cities. So when we put up a mall, we also put up residentials. No,
Hmm.
we create jobs. I mean, inside a mall, how many MSMEs are there? 70% of our tenants are micro, small, medium enterprise. And these are all helping those provinces that we are in. We also put up universities or schools inside our malls. No? Like, for example, in SM City, Baliwag, we have National University. And we have other areas in the country that we put up national university. So they don't have to send their children to Manila to have their education. So everything, this is actually decentralizing the national capital region. No? We have done that so in Mindanao, but also in Visayas. No? So you have your education there. You create livelihood through our shopping center. You uplift the lives of the community, but at the same time, you also create jobs. We have those office buildings, not that attracts BPOs, and so it's really creating those small cities within the city.
Great, great. So, is there a new project that you're eyeing to execute or
Oh,
build soon?
we will always continue, and we will always be developing. I just came back from Iloilo the other day, and I see some potential also for growth for more office buildings, so that
Hmm.
people who graduated in Iloilo or who finished their studies in Iloilo doesn't have to go to Manila or to other cities. But also Clark is a very good example. Clark, our project there, we have a convention center, we have hotels, we have the mall, we have BPOs. So it's something. A lot of actually my colleagues, a lot of their families, they don't come to Manila anymore. They just do it all in that area.
Right. Thank you, Sir Stephen. Now we have one question here from our audience. What can individuals and private NGOs do to help urban development if the onus of urban planning is on the local and national government? Who would like to take this?
Yeah,
Yes, sir, Palafox.
I think one is shame the polluter. Like we have different kinds of pollution. It's not just air, water, also visual pollution. Our cities are uglified by the overhead cable cars, cable wires, the visually obtrusive big billboards, and so of course the garbage. That could be one, and identify them. The other one would be, yeah, get the media to our side. Like if you waited 2 hours waiting for transport from the airport, maybe get attention to the media, and hopefully something will, because there are good people in government, technocrats in government, but they are not listened to sometimes. So we have these technocrats in government. reach. So the private sector can do that. And what can they do? Some are, I think, like fe- among professionals of the built environment, we should also walk the talk, like talking about
Yeah.
climate change and so on. And I pledged in the American Institute of Architects. I think I was the first Filipino who did that. That 2030 projects we do should be carbon neutral by 2030. And there was one project that I was asked to destroy 366 70-year-old trees for a six-star hotel. I returned the $1 million contract because the investors got tree cutting permit to cut down 366 70-year-old trees. I got legal cases against me, but I stick to my principle because I believe a 70-year-old tree, the replacement value is 9 million pesos. Oxygen for 70 years, rainwater harvested, fertilizer get planet Earth, and the beauty of the environment. So there are many things that maybe media, responsible media, can be one. Another one is we should try to prevent NIMBYism, not in my backyard. So infrastructure, there are problems of right of way,
Yeah.
not in my backyard. Elsewhere in the world, like Singapore, uh,
Mhm.
30 minutes below ground is public realm. Now Singapore is planning an underground city. Can we do that in our country? I think you can claim ownership below ground up to the center of the earth. But elsewhere in the world, meters below, it's public realm, public right of way. I think there are proposals to make it 50 meters, but that's too deep already, 50 meters. So, and just like Dubai and Singapore too, and Doha, Qatar, they look at the best practices in the world and how many years they can surpass it. Many of our citizens are very well traveled. Take pictures of the nice sceneries, cities elsewhere in the world that you visit. Take pictures of the uglification of the cities. In fact, we've been producing what they call postcards of the futures. We take pictures of the uglification of our cities and present architectural perspective, urban design perspectives, how they should look like. Postcards in the future, I call them postcards in the future. Hopefully, somebody will implement them. In Dubai, I call them snapshots of the future because I knew they would implement them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, architect.
Yeah.
Uh,
If
yes,
I
Sir
may,
Stephen.
no? Okay.
Sure.
Actually, the National Resilience Council and the Arise Philippines, no, is an NGO project. What is this?
Mhm.
This is like private sector working with the local government unit to adopt a city, just like what we did in Cagayan de Oro. Cagayan de Oro is an adopted city of National Resilience Council, but also Anaga. These are all areas that are that frequent have the disaster, no, the typhoons and what have you, and the flooding. In Cagayan de Oro, when we put up our shopping center, since we work very closely with the LGU, and the issues of Cagayan de Oro downtown is always the flooding, always. Several times a year in the city center, there would be heavy flooding. Can you imagine the loss of opportunity for doing business during the time that it's flooded, and the investment
Mhm.
that they lost because of the issues of flooding? So when we put up our shopping center in the middle of the city, what we did was really dig deep under and put up a water catchment basin to mitigate the flooding in the area. So the flooding is not just our problem, but it's a problem of the city. We work hand in hand with them and and get experts, no, to tell us what is the capacity needed for the water catchment basin. Those water were used to either used for our cooling system in for our chilled water. Is used also for flushing toilets and watering plants, no, or eventually release when it stopped raining. So it really helped out. But our in our portfolio we have, I don't, more than 20. I think there's 23 water catchment basin underneath a shopping center already
Mhm.
in SM.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Doc Erica.
No, yeah. So I would go down to the individual people. No. actually, RJ, a few days ago, I tweeted the a video of me walking the sidewalks of Makati, and there were a lot of barriers. So I was doing this zigzag. Um, I think it's also important for the ordinary citizen to let our government know, to let our mayors know that we demand things. For example, we want more bike lanes. These small things can add up. And I like how architect June said, there you go to social media if kailangan. I think that way we have to call their attention, because sometimes when they're not, because usually our policymakers, not all, no, but many of them don't really use the public transport, so they don't know what people go through on a daily basis. Our commuters, it would be good if we can tell them, we can let them know that, hey, we need this. And you know what, they do listen. They do listen. So yun yung critical for us to know that we can actually come to them, approach them, let them know of what we're going through, and hopefully they listen, no? And I'm optimistic that they will.
Yeah, we should be optimistic. I hope to that they will listen. So before we end today's this session, I'd like to invite each of our speakers to share some final words with our audience. Perhaps we can start with architect Felino, followed by Dr. Erica, and then Stephen.
Yeah,
Sir, your closing
yeah,
statement now.
yeah. Thank you. It, uh, Time is so short. Anyway, uh, our country is so blessed. I mentioned some of the advantages of our country. We're number one in the world in marine biodiversity. We're now number one in BPOs. We're number one in sailors, seafarers, and I think we're number one in nurses. We're number two in no, number one in also number two in BPOs and geothermal energy. We have the third longest coastline in the world. Some countries in the world, like Dubai, they had to create the Palm Islands, so we have more waterfront. We are number four in shipbuilding, and number four also in gold reserves. Number five in mineral resources. Number 10 in there are others like bananas, copper, and so on. We are in the top 10. And number 12 in human resources. And the Filipino expatriates is the preferred employees of employers all over the world. And but we really have to address all these blessings we have. If you do a SWOT analysis of Philippines, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, we have more strengths and opportunities. When I was elected president of the Management Association of the Philippines 2011, the theme that I put forward was we should develop a culture of integrity, addressing corruption towards good governance, criminality towards better peace and order, and the environment, climate change for better environment, and protect, enhance the government. And I'd like to add infrastructure, inequality, and incompetence. If we do all of this, uh, I think Goldman Sachs forecasted that by 2050, the Philippines can be in the top 16th economy in the world. My friend Tony Lopez from Business Asia told me that we can be number eight. And to me, if we only have good administrations for the next 3 to 4 years, I think we'll be there. And at Palafox, every project we do, we have an integral ecology of what we call people first or social equity. People, job creation, poverty alleviation. Then planet Earth or the environment. Then we can talk about profit, prosperity, and economic goals without forgetting history, culture, and heritage, and interfaith spirituality. We have given up projects or did not accept projects that violate these five principles. And if there's a future to plan, the Philippines has a lot of future, and you love or hate cities, but by 2050, 70% of our population will be in urban population. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much to architect Palafox. Now, Dr. Erica.
Hi, RJ. Maybe for the closing, I'm just going to share some key takeaways from our conversations. No, number
Yes.
one, people must really be at the center of any conversation related to cities and transportation system. Not the data, not the technology, not the cars, not the roads, but people understand our needs, understand our natural tendencies. Second is that we have to all champion insight driven policymaking, and let's do away with opportunistic policies like what architect June mentioned earlier. This is critical. And finally, we have to educate ourselves, no, and also educate our policymakers on the science of cities, on the science of urbanization, so we get to understand more. And for the last two things that I mentioned on insight driven or analytics driven policymaking and on education, this is something that we're very passionate about at the Asian Institute of Management. So we're very open to work with developers, to work with SM Supermalls, for example, and even our policymakers in our cities, no, so that we can really improve the well-being and quality of life of the Filipinos. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Sir Stephen.
Okay, thank you, RJ. Okay, let me start by extending my congratulations to all of you for your for this fruitful discussion. No? I personally learned so much from Architect Palafox and from Ms. Erica, no, about transforming in communities into smart cities and mobility. I was so glad to listen to the insights of my co-panelists, no, Professor Erica and Architect Palafox. No? And with the discussion we had today, I'm optimistic that we can achieve the goals of the country to make our cities more livable and sustainable for the generations to come, with the help, of course, of the government and the private sector. As I end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Business World for organizing this event, my colleagues in the business community, and whose engagement has been instrumental in making the discussion vibrant and solutions oriented. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. That was, I think, a very insightful discussion, right? Now, so, to our panelists, Stephen T. Tan, President of SM Supermalls, Erica Fileti Legara, Senior Scientist and Associate Professor, Aboitiz Chair in Data Science, Asian Institute of Management, and Felino A. Palafox, Junior Principal and Founder of Palafox Associates. Thank you very much, everyone. It was an absolute
Thank you,
pleasure
RJ.
speaking with
Thank
you
you,
all
Business World.
today.
Yeah. Thank you, Business
So,
World. Thank you,
Thank
RJ.
you.
Thank you,
yes.
Steven and Erica.
We would love to have you again next time. And a huge thank you as well to our partners, Asia Society Philippines, French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Philippines, European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Management Association of the Philippines, Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Philippine Franchise Association, Management Association of the Philippines, our media partner as well, the Philippine Star. Of course, to everyone who joined today's discussion, thank you, salamat po. Please join us again in the next sessions of Business World Insights. You can follow Business World online to be updated on our webinars and other projects. Again, my name is RJ Baninbin. Good afternoon.